blank for a second, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, when okay, there we go. So yeah, you were saying how was practice?
Practice was good. We had a couple of NBA guys there, so their antennas were all up.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah,
So that's big. I guess that's inspiration. That's where everybody wants to get to, right?
I guess so. You would be able to answer that question better than me.
Right,
I was
right.
never a professional basketball player, so I don't know.
So kind of jumping right into it, Coach. What inspired you to become a coach? I mean, I know you obviously you played, in your youth, starting out, and you played multiple sports, right?
When I was younger, yes, yeah, when I was
Right.
younger, high school, college, concentrated on basketball. Was very fortunate to get a basketball scholarship to Mount St. Mary's in
Mm,
Maryland.
right.
I played for a legendary coach in Jim Phelan. He
Okay.
passed away about a year ago, but it was definitely the world to me to play college basketball.
Right.
And after that, I worked in corporate America for a year. Went back to Mount St. Mary's as a graduate assistant coach.
Mhm.
And I think that's where I got bitten by this quote unquote college basketball bug.
Right.
And I think I've been in it ever since. So
Right.
it's been about, I don't know, 28 years, something like that.
Right. Wow. So when you were a grad assistant, what about that experience that you knew that was like, okay, this is I like to do this. I like coaching guys, developing guys because
Yeah,
basketball
I
is a
think,
lot.
I think being a GA was a little bit different than being an assistant coach. So when I went back as a GA, because I was only a year removed, I knew the players because I had played with some of them.
Right.
And, as a player, uh, after you finish playing, things start to become a little bit more clear to you about the nuances of the game of basketball.
Right.
When to pass, when to shoot, when to go for the steal, when to stay down on shot fakes. But also because I was fortunate to go back as a GA and an assistant coach at Mount St. Mary's for Jim Phelan,
Right.
I knew what the head coach wanted.
Hmm.
I knew what the other assistants wanted. I knew how they coached. So I could relate to the players and, if you will, translate the language that the head coach was speaking to the language that the players understand.
Right.
I think a
Right.
lot of times uh, young student athletes don't speak the same language as the coaches, and vice versa. The coaches don't always speak the same language as the players. So sometimes, and I was fortunate, like I said, to be that intermediary, so
Mm.
I could speak both languages and explain things a lot better to get through to them. And
Right.
I just thought, wow, I actually have some value here.
Right. Makes sense. Kind of moving forward into today, like when you look at, I guess, kind of coaching. Let's even just say 10 years ago to now. Like, um, what would you say the most important skill set is to have in today's game for an
Uh,
athlete?
I don't know if
I
you
know
like
that's
this
kind of
answer.
a
Yeah, I don't know if you like this answer or not, but I've stuck with this answer for a very long time. The most important skill to me is listening,
wow.
slash being coachable slash being teachable.
Right.
I think that's extremely important on all levels. Um, Again, I've never coached elementary school or middle school, but I have coached high school. I never coached AAU. I've coached college.
Mm.
I've been around some guys who are NBA players, professional players. I spent some time in a couple different training camps observing and watching.
Mm.
And to me, the guys that are coachable, the guys that listen and they can take what you practiced and put it on the floor,
Mm.
the guys who can understand what goes into a scouting report and put that on the floor, the guys who can take the drills and apply it to live situations, those are the guys to me that really excel, get better. And as a coach, you want to pour more into because they do exactly what you ask them to do.
Right.
Sometimes people say, well, uh, but you really just want them to be, you want them to hear you. You want them to
Right.
listen. Some kids can nod their head like, yeah, I got it. And they go out there and do the same mistake. You're like, well, wait a minute. I thought you said you were listening. Well, I heard you. That doesn't mean you were listening. Hearing and listening are two different things. So to me, the most important quality is listening.
Right. That makes sense. Because I guess at certain levels, like once you make a team, whether it's high school and obviously collegiately and a pro level, it's like, well, everybody has some type of ability, basketball ability, but that does make sense. I was waiting to hear like a ball handling or conditioning or whatever it is, but it makes sense because like you said, when you get to a college campus, all of us were the best players at, wherever we come from.
That's correct.
So I guess that makes sense. So today's game has changed. Would you say that you have to be able to shoot in today's game?
Yes. Now, if you put a gun to my head and said, hey, coach, give me a basketball skill that's used on the court, what's most important, then I would say 100% the ability to make a shot. Right. I heard Reggie Miller, top 75, Hall of Famer, yada, yada, yada. I heard him give a stat today, and he said in the NBA in 1987, the average number of threes shot per team was like 5. And
per game?
Like, huh? Per game.
Wow.
Today, it's 31.
Per game. That's the average, like NBA.
Average. Wow. Teams are shooting 30-plus threes a game from 3 in the NBA. Back in 87, they shot 5. Right. So, yes, today, you have to be able to make a shot. Whether it's a 3-pointer, a 2-pointer, or you got to finish at a really high rate at layups. But you got to put the ball in the basket. That's NBA, that's college, that's high school, that's middle school. Lewis, I know you got a son in Bryce who's in middle school. If he can't put the ball in the basket, then all right, he's just like everybody else. Why should he be on the team? I got a son that's in 7th grade, and I'm telling him the same thing. Like, you got to be able to make a shot.
Right, for sure. That makes sense, Coach. So, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, I don't know if you got to see or have you seen the highlights from Curry last night. I think this is an effect of what he's done to the basketball game, or it's some good in it, and I guess it's also some bad. But like you said, if you are able to listen, a coach will be able to kind of coach you up and guide you, and you should be able to apply that to your, to your workouts or to your, I guess, to your game.
I think not only does Steph Curry listen to his coaches and listen to his dad, he watched, he observed, he studied, and growing up, I don't know what he was in middle school size-wise. I did not see him in high school, but I did see him in college.
Right.
And he looked like the average dude. Height, weight, athleticism. So I'm sure at some point somebody said to him, hey, man, you've got to be able to make shots at a high rate. There's going to be guys bigger, stronger, more athletic than you. They're going to try to punk you, be physical, block your shot. So how can I get my shot off multiple times per game? Right. So clearly he and others like him said, all right, I got to make shots, but I got to make multiple shots. Right. And he now is at the highest level. And it's not unusual to see the stat line. He's made 8 threes or 10 threes in a game. That's not unusual. So if you have a weapon like that on your team, you're going to make sure he gets 12 to 15 attempts from 3.
Alone.
If he's going to shoot 35 to 40% from 3,
right.
I mean, again, it's a valuable weapon.
That's a lot of that's a lot of shots, but it is a very valuable weapon. So I got to see you guys do a little bit of practice a few weeks ago, and from talking to yourself and talking to the head coach, he talked about player development is good, but gameplay, the right gameplay, is also good. But what's your take, Coach? When I say gameplay, like, to me, gameplay is playing in your neighborhood, playing with older guys at the parks. Like, I think that's kind of missing in today's element of this whole, you know, I do basketball player development, but I always tell guys, you can come and see me twice a week and all of that, and that's good, but you got to play and then you got to work on your game on your own. To me, I think that's the most important element of it, because you have to be obsessed with the process. This is not a 2 or 3 day thing when you're trying to be a good, just even a good basketball player, not even just a recruit, just trying to become a good basketball player and be competitive. You have to kind of do this 5-6 days a week with mixing with maintaining your academics.
Yeah, I think just like anything else, you want to be a good math student. You got math every day. You got to do your homework every day.
Yeah,
English. If you want to be a good musician, you got to practice every day. I think it's the same for any walk of life in your profession, whatever your profession is. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a dentist. You do those things every single day to perfect your craft. So you're exactly right. If you want to be a good basketball player, you want to be a good shooter, as we mentioned, Steph Curry, you got to practice some element of shooting every single day. So that it becomes a habit. It becomes second nature. It becomes foreign when the ball doesn't go in. Rob Lanier, our head basketball coach here at Georgia State, again, I think he and I both are, we've been around for a while. So we've seen, you know, how guys have worked on their games and what we did as players way back when it was the thing to do was to go outside and play pickup with your friends. Regardless if they were good or not, you just wanted to play pickup.
Reps,
and then the ones that were really good, and then you travel to somebody else's neighborhood. So what that did was that took you out of your comfort zone. If you lived somewhere and you had a basketball court, you lived in the suburbs and you had a court in the backyard or your driveway. All right, you made shots. Then you went to your local school and you played pickup, or your local park. Then you went outside of your neighborhood, outside of your local park, and you went to some place that was uncomfortable. You knew, ooh, it's rough at the other court. You know, guys get in fights. You know, guys break bottles. It's dangerous. But you're willing to go over there and play because you know it's good basketball. Now you're coming out of your comfort zone. So now when you come back into your element, you're like, wow, I learned how to get my shot off against a taller guy, a tougher guy, where they don't call fouls. They fight, you know. So I think getting out of your element helps your game also.
Makes sense. What's the it factor? You know, I know you've recruited and you've seen every type of player. What's the it factor for a young player that's playing travel, playing high school ball? When you're looking at a guy like, and like you're saying, that's it, that's what I want to, you know. And I know it depends on the situation for a school, but what can make a player attractive for you to notice, or any college coach in general?
Yeah, here at Georgia State, we're looking for guys with competitive spirit. Do they have a competitive spirit? If they're a guard and they get switched somehow on a big guy, do they just lay behind them in the post, or do they try to fight around them in front the post? If there's a loose ball and it's a big guy, is he willing to dive on the floor? Again, if he's just a player and his teammate gets beat and he's supposed to be on the help line, he's sitting in the paint, and he knows he can't block the shot, is he willing to come over and put his body into the play and try to take a charge? To me, that's a competitive spirit. When we're playing one-on-one and the best player on the team keeps killing me, he just scored 3, 4, 5 points in a row, but I keep saying, run it back, run it back, run it back. That's competitive spirit. We want guys that have competitive spirit, even though they might be outmanned or, you know, not as big, not as tall, not as athletic. Do you have that competitive spirit to say, I want to do it again because I want to beat you?
Okay. And how, well, is that, and for a player, is that something that, do you think, if a player doesn't have that, can they develop that? Or is that something that just kind of has to be bred within a player?
Well, I think if you have other guys that have competitive spirit, I think the guys that don't have it, they look around and they're like, ooh, this is rough. If I'm going to compete and get on the court, I got to do what these guys are doing. And I think that's very important. I think if you have enough guys that have competitive spirit, They show that day in and day out. They're leaders. They're aggressive. I think those kinds of things start to spread. It becomes contagious.
Right.
That's what we've been preaching here at Georgia State. We want that competitive spirit. And if one guy has it, if three guys have it, we want more.
Fair enough. With coaching, what's the most difficult thing about preparing for a season? Like, from the time that I got to come watch you guys, a month or two ago to now, with it becoming closer to tip off, what's the toughest thing about preparation?
Yeah, I think that the unknown, if you will,
Mm.
who's going to show up with the right attitude, who's going to bring personal baggage to practice. Did I get in an argument with my girlfriend? Is anything going home? Family matters. Grandma's sick. Somebody's traveling to come see me. Did I not do well on the test? I got a big exam today. How you never know about injuries.
Right.
Is somebody hurt? Are they really injured? Are they out for a day? Are they out for 2 weeks? Like, you can't prepare for those things.
Right.
Can your student athletes, if they do have drama off the court, if you will, can they compartmentalize that so that they can have a good practice?
Right.
So that leading up to your first game, they understand, like, hey, for the next 2 hours, I'm going to focus just on basketball. And then I'll deal with whatever it is, my exam, my parents, my loved ones, a significant other. I can deal with that stuff later. But for these 2 hours, I'm going to really focus on improving.
Okay. So to segue, if I'm doing all of that, I'm handling business off the court academically. I don't have any relationship problems. I'm staying away from any trouble. How does if I'm playing and I'm within the season as a player, how do you coach a guy out of a slump? Like, if a guy's having a shooting slump, or he's just not playing well, but he still can be on the floor because, like you said, he's giving good effort, maybe defensively. But let's say from an offensive standpoint, how does a guy get out of a slump?
Yeah, I think what I've learned over the years is it's much easier as a coach to help that player get out of the slump if you have a relationship with him.
Okay.
If you have a one-on-one relationship with the young man, do you only spend time with him for those 2 hours in practice? Then it's going to be hard. But if you spend time with him before practice, after practice, maybe watching film, maybe having conversations about their significant other, or having conversations with their families. I think a lot of times you go into this and you recruit young men, but you're also recruiting their families also. So, sometimes you may already know what's going on at home, and you understand why a young man is not playing his best in practice. Here at Georgia State, we have we consider ourselves academic coaches also. So we've split our team up. Each assistant coach has 4 or 5 guys apiece, and we check in with them once or twice a week. So we know by the end of the week, hey, does Lewis have a paper to turn in? Did he do well on a test? Hey, this weekend he's scot-free. He doesn't need to have any homework. Or, hey, Lewis, a reminder on Friday and Saturday, you have a term paper that's due on Sunday night at midnight. So I think having a relationship with the student athlete helps. And then when you can pinpoint why there is a slump through watching film, through asking questions, through just hanging out with the young man, I think that's a lot easier to help a young man get out of a slump.
Got you. Now we talked earlier about recruitment. Will this whole NIL thing have an impact on recruitment?
I don't think so for us at Georgia State. I think certain schools, and again, I can't name them all, but I'm hearing all kinds of great deals that guys are getting at some of the high major blue blood schools. Whether it's a Porsche dealership, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a country club. I think at the high major level, yes, those guys are more coveted to get in these NIL deals than some of the mid-major schools. But it has not affected us.
Right. Now you coached at obviously every level, high major, mid major, whatever you want to call it, with players at, let's say, these high major schools. Do you think that those players who are getting paid, there are going to be players on the team who probably aren't? How do you think that'll impact the locker room? Will it impact this player's ego? Because I know some kids are raised good and humble, and some maybe not. So it's like, how would that affect the game and locker rooms and things like that?
That's a really good question. I've asked that question myself, and before this was all legal, that was kind of on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the players in your own locker room, but the other student athletes on your campus, in your athletic department. Will the, I don't know, crew team or gymnastics team, will they look at the football team and basketball team a little funny because they're getting more deals?
Right.
And then, like you mentioned, within the locker room, hey, I'm a starter and I'm the leading scorer. I'm getting all the deals. Lewis, you're a walk-on the team, but a significant contributor to the team, and
Right.
you're not getting as many deals. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. I think, again, back to relationships, the coaches, the
Mm-hmm.
athletic department, and how you use the right term. How much humility do you have on your staff? How
Right.
humble can you be as a player, as a student athlete? Are you
Right.
going to let all that go to your head? Because now we might start to segue into, all right, now you got all these NLI deals, but now you're not the same player as you were a year ago.
Right.
So now
Right.
there's got to be some kind of balance. So again,
For
we're
sure.
not in that predicament, so it's hard for me to judge, but I would think if a young man's getting too many deals, he may not be working on his game like he's supposed to.
Right. Yeah, and I guess that goes to, like we talked about, like the humility, but also a balance of, being mature as well. Because like I look at Clemson, they're out of the top 25. Their quarterback got a lot of money in NIL deals, and I think, like you said, he's, it's not that he's playing bad, but he's just not performing like a Heisman candidate, let's say. So it'll be interesting to see. But
Just like anything else, Lewis, as a college student athlete, there are a lot of distractions.
for sure,
And I
absolutely.
think now this NIL possibly could be another distraction for student athletes.
All right.
So if they don't know how to manage their time, if they don't know how to manage it, it could become a distraction.
Absolutely. Okay. So, last question, Coach. So, what kind of jumping to the NBA? What's your top 5 favorite NBA players of all time?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. Growing up, one of my favorite players was Maurice Cheeks.
Okay. All right.
Maybe a lot of your listeners, people in your generation, may not know who Mo Cheeks is.
They may know him as a coach, so maybe.
They probably know him as a coach.
Right.
Julius Erving, Dr. J.
Dr. J.
Had a poster of Dr. J over my bed. George Gervin, the Iceman.
Iceman. Yeah.
I had his poster. But if I segue now, Michael Jordan, in my opinion,
Right.
was greatest ever.
Right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar scored more points than anybody that's played. And then it's kind of a toss-up. You could pick anybody that's playing currently.
Right.
Again, I don't mean to slight Kobe Bryant, LeBron, et cetera, but it's really hard to pick. And
Yeah.
again, those first 2 or 3 names are guys that I got a chance to watch on TV all the time. So
Right.
I'm a little biased to old school people.
Right. Yeah. And it's different. Like, like you said, it's different when you talk about the greatest. I think for me, like I always say, Mike, I enjoy it with the competitive edge. They're second to none. And you look at what he did in just playing, 13, 14 years, 2 of the year, 1 of the years he was injured, 1 he sat out. So it's kind of like, if he played as long as LeBron did, I mean, it would be interesting. But I obviously grew up a Kobe fan because that's what I grew up actually seeing a lot more of. Yeah, I mean, I like your picks, and this will give, like you said, if I do have any young listeners, this will give them some people to kind of research up on and learn from, because those are great players.
They can always Google those guys, even if they've never heard of them. Maybe
Right.
they'll learn something.
So when's the first game, Coach?
We play November the 9th at home. You're welcome to come to any game, man. Come on and see us.
Okay. All right. Who do you guys play?
We play Bruton Parker on the 9th. We play Northeastern on November the 12th. Please come see us.
Okay. I think me and Bryce will come check you guys out, Coach.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Lewis.
Man, thank you for talking with us. I think this will definitely help some players and hopefully get guys on the right track, man.
Lewis, anything for you, please tell your mother I asked about her too.
Okay. All right. I will. All right. Thank you, Coach. Have a good one.